Hi, welcome. Today we're going to talk about chess endgames, and first of all, it's very important to know the concept of opposition. We've already talked about that, and if you don't know yet what is the opposition, I suggest you to go for this link. And today we're going to talk about king plus pawn against king, this kind of endgames. It's very important because this happens a lot. And first, we will talk about the square rule. Then we will see how to win with the king and the pawn against the king. And next we will see how to draw with king against king and a pawn. In the end of this video, we will see some practical examples. We will see a game between Garry Kasparov and Lev Alberts, then Paul Murphy against Juan Lowenthal, and finally we will see an endgame between Mikhail Shigorin and Sigbert Tajas. So let's jump for our first position. So this is our first position, and here we are playing white. So let's talk about the square rule. The square rule is quite easy and will permit you to play without counting the squares you need to play to promote your pawn. So you don't need any more to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So you want to imagine the square where you want to play your pawn, and then you will draw a diagonal to create a square. If your opponent doesn't reach the square, this means you will promote your pawn. If you reach out the square, it's over. The game is draw. So it's quite easy to win this kind of games. You don't need to calculate. You just need to have some creativity and imagine the square and see if the opponent reaches the square. Okay, so let's see. If I play the pawn, king, pawn, king, pawn, king, pawn, and it's over because I can promote for a queen. So it's quite easy. Imagine if I played one square. If I played this pawn one square, would I win or would I draw? So I will imagine my move. I will create an arrow and let's see our square. So now it's black to play. If black plays, he will reach the square, the corner of the square. So this game, it's draw. Let's see. If I play one square, I'm doing a terrible mistake, a blunder, because now I won't win the game. It's draw. Quite easy. So the square rule, it's quite easy. First, you just need to imagine the move you're going to make. You create square, and if your opponent doesn't reach the square, so this means the game is won for you. If he reaches the square, so the game is draw. The second position I want to show you, it's how to win with king plus pawn against king. It's quite easy too. So you want to put your king in front of the pawn, and of course, again, you need to know how to do the opposition. If you don't know yet, you can click on the link. I will explain quickly here in this video, and it's quite easy. After you move the king, the number of squares isn't pair, okay? It's quite easy. So, first of all, I want to put my king in front of the pawn, and then I want to have the opposition. If my opponent has the opposition, I will want to lose a tempo with my pawn, and this will permit me to win the game promoting the pawn. Okay, so let's see. King, and I will imagine that my opponent knows how to do the opposition. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's see. This is an idea. This is another one. We can see the two. So first, I will play the king, and 1, 2, 3. It isn't pair. I'm going to play here. So let's play king and king. And now I will win the game because, okay, black has the opposition, but I can lose a tempo with the pawn. So I will play this move, and now this is terrible for black because he needs to play something with the king. So if he plays there, I will outflank. And why I want to outflank? Because I want to control the key squares. What is the key squares? The key squares are the squares that my pawn will use to promote. Okay, so right now I'm controlling these 3 key squares, and if he plays there, I will advance with check. If he plays there, I will do opposition. Now, for example, he can do. If he does that, I will outflank. If he does that, I will outflank. If he does that, I can do opposition. So the game is already won. Opposition, outflank, and now I advance. Of course, this isn't the best, but it's just to show that the game is won, because I have always the opposition. And now I had my promotion. So this is the first variant. Let's see, for example, if the king doesn't play here and plays there. It's the same. I will put my king in front of the pawn, and for example, if he plays that, do the opposition. If he plays that, I can outflank, because after that I will do opposition too. So let's see, king, 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 and it's the same. I will lose a tempo. Next we will see, not the next example, but after, one exception, because sometimes the game is draw when the king is in front of the pawn. So I will lose the tempo, and now I will show quickly because we've already seen that. So it's quite easy. For example, I can do that just to play differently. And I have access and control to the key square, sorry. So it's over. Easy. It's an easy game. So we already see the square rule and how to win with the king and pawn against the king. Now we are going to see how to draw with the king against the king and the pawn. It's easy too, but I've already saw a FIDE master losing against an international master in equal position. So yeah, this is true. On a classical game, so this happens sometimes because they are tired. I don't know, something happens here, I don't know, but well, it's quite simple. If he tries to advance the king to put in front of the pawn, we will do always opposition, and if the king aren't there, I will always try to play my king front and backwards. Okay, it's quite easy. So here is white, I will play that. So it isn't in any of this direction squares. So king, just to show, king, king. Okay, he is trying to reach position in front of the pawn. So opposition, let's go. Okay, if he plays there, okay, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Again, opposition. Now pawn advances. Easy. I don't want him to access the key squares, so I will always put my king in front of the pawn. Now, of course, if he plays any of these moves, I take the pawn and it's draw, because king against king is a draw. And now it isn't in any of these squares, so let's go. He's trying to put in front, so let's go. Opposition again. Pawn advances, king, king, king. It's always the same. If he doesn't play here, for example, there, always the same. Okay, alert. He's trying to put the king in front of the pawn. what will you do? Correct. Opposition. Let's go. Pawn advances, king, king. Again. Opposition. It's over. He will try to do this kind of stuff, but you don't need to worry about. Now, opposition. And it's draw. Why is this game draw? Simple. Because the only safe square is the square where my king is. And my opponent doesn't let me go anywhere. So he is controlling all the squares where my king could play. So because the only safe square is the square where my king is, this game is draw. This is a drawn king. I think in English is the same. So in Portuguese we call rei afogado. So so I hope you're understanding the concept. It's quite easy. We've already talked about the square rule. We've seen how to win the game with king plus pawn against king. And now we've seen a draw, the first draw, because I want to show you an exception. So the exception is here. But of course, because before that, if you're seeing some value in this video, I hope you subscribe and please put a like, commentate, it's correct, and talk with me at chess.com, tell me some critics to try to evolve my level. I know I need to practice my English, sorry, I'm trying to improve. And again, I hope you're enjoying the content, and I hope you learn something here. So let's continue. This is the other position I want to show you. So here is white to play. And yes, the pawn is playing on this direction, and the king is in front of the pawn. So normally this would be win for white. We have one small problem. I cannot lose the tempo with the pawn. So because of that, this game is draw. See, if I play the king, I will play the king. And the problem is that, as we already seen before, if the king isn't in front of the pawn, he won't control the key squares and the game will be draw. So it's over. See, I will play the king, he will advance the pawn, and now always the same. If he reach these squares, we do the opposition. If he play another thing, it's always the same. So, okay, he's trying to put the king in front, so I'm going to show quickly. We've already seen that. Opposition. So pawn advances, king, 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 and now the game is draw, because this square is safe and it doesn't let me play anywhere. So this is our exception. So in this moment we've already seen all today's theory, but we need now to see the practical examples. All the best players of the world play this kind of positions. So the first game is a game between Lev Albert and Garry Kasparov. Kasparov is a legend. He doesn't play anymore, just on Blitz at St. Louis, but he is exceptional. He is a very strong player. So in this game, Kasparov is playing with black. And first, of course, we want to do opposition. And he will play king to f3, and it's important to control this square. So Kasparov has played f5, and the way he will win this game is very instructive, because he wants to play g5, g4 eventually, and he wants to create an passed pawn. So right now, after h3 for me probably isn't the best move, because now will be easier to win this game. So the way of thinking of Kasparov is related to the square rule, because he wants to promote this pawn, but to promote this pawn, this king needs to be outside the square. So how will he do that? Simple. King d5 opposition. It's necessary because or else I will reach out my opponent's territory and he will lose the game because of the lateral opposition too. So king, 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 and now g4. Let's see, if pawn takes, king, pawn, and it's over because this king doesn't get to the square. So this move, it's the only possible move, or else white will lose quickly. And now Kasparov shows a quick way of winning the game, because if he exchange, he will have a passed pawn on f5, but normally if I had just a pawn, this would be a draw. The problem is that I have plus another pawn on h4. So I will win the other pawn, this one, and I will win the game because of that. So opposition, opposition, and now quite easy, I advance the pawn. If the king goes here, I will advance and I'm already controlling the key squares. Why? Because if the king plays there, if he can take, but now it's over because this doesn't exist. So continuing, he has played that, and now quite easy and very beautiful, because Kasparov first plays king e4, and now king, pawn, and look at that. If king plays here, I will do opposition and I will win this pawn. So white plays king to f1, and the idea is quite simple. If king plays here, he will have the opposition. If, for example, I play here, king's here, pawn, and now king, and it's draw. So Kasparov have seen a beautiful move, king for f5. And the idea is that if king advances, I will have the opposition again. So now it's over, because after king g1, king e5. Beautiful, 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 because now this doesn't exist, and if he plays that, I can play this move, yeah, like that. So a very, very, very instructive game. So this is the first example I have for you related to the square rule and opposition, of course. The second game is the game between Paul Morphy and Juan Lowenthal. Lowenthal has won this game, and it's very beautiful too, and it shows the lack of endgame theory of Paul Morphy. But well, on those days it was normal to make mistakes in the endgame. So here in this position, Paul Morphy will commit a blunder, because, well, it's quite easy. If I here is white to play, okay, and if I was playing Morphy's position, I wouldn't have any question about this move, king g2. Why is that? It's quite simple. King g2, king, I make a position, and the game is equal. So it's a quick way to draw this game. But the problem is that Morphy has played king g1. King g1 is terrible, it's a terrible blunder, because now black has king g5. King g5, my god. Why? The number of squares between the kings isn't fair. So the game is won for black. Now we have several ways to winning this game. So king, of course, this wins too, of course. But the thing is that Lowenthal can play king f4 because of the sack on c4. And after pawn takes, I will win the game because I can reach this pawn, and I will control the key squares and I will win the game. Are you seeing? I'm controlling the key square. So here the game is over and Morphy has resigned. So very interesting. Lowenthal was a good player. So the third position I have to show you is a game between Mikhail Shigorin and Sigbert Tahash. And this game was won by Tahash. Is very instructive too and shows the difficulties of Shigorin on the endgame. But it wasn't easy, the position. So let's see. So Mikhail Shigorin is playing with white and Tahash is playing with black. So here the first move was king to f4. And now with the opposition, black will win easily. So king, lateral opposition. Now g4, king, and I don't need to take any risk. This is interesting because of that, because Tahash doesn't need to take risks. Now h4, of course, just a bad idea. If I played g6, because probably someone is thinking about that, pawn takes, and then this advances is complicated because I will promote the h8 pawn. So it isn't a good idea. So here h4, and now opposition. Natural again. It looks like black isn't doing nothing, but the thing is that one of the key concepts of the endgame is that I want to reach the central squares with my king. And are you seeing? This is the center and my king is on the center. So it's difficult to defend this position with white. So again, king and takes. And the problem is that my king, the black's king, is very well placed. So now I do opposition again, and this game is completely lost. So here Shigorin has played that, and after king f4, the game is over. So an easy win just because of a good position of the black's king. So very, very, very interesting. So we've been talking about today about endgames and in particular King and Pawn against King. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, if you want to see more content and if you see any value and you learned something, please like, subscribe, and comment or commentate. I don't know. Please answer me in the comments. I think it's comment. Commentate, yeah? Please leave a comment. Thank you. Please leave a comment below. And thank you so much for the last views. The channel is new, and tomorrow we will have more content here in this channel. So have a good night and till tomorrow. Bye bye.